I have a quick question for you as you begin this devotional. I want you to take just a few moments and I want you to think about who has been a mentor to you or a role model, especially if you think maybe even outside of your immediate family. Who are those individuals, or who is that individual who has had a profound impact on your life? Probably at least one name or maybe even a handful of names come to mind when you're asked that question. And as you think about that, especially from a scriptural standpoint, one of the names that pops into mind as we think about the giants in scripture who have had an impact on other people, I think of Moses. I've always loved the book of Deuteronomy, and I think of him as just being a champion and a giant in the Israelites' story. Of course, many of you are familiar with the story of Moses and how he truly did serve as a role model and a mentor and a leader to his people. And so it's really amazing to think about that in terms of us, and to be thankful of, just as they looked to Moses, that there have been people in our lives that I believe God has brought into our life to make a difference and to be that impact and that influence on us. But I also have an even more interesting, I think, approach to think about this today, something that has long been on my mind when it comes to role models and mentors, and that is the fact that the Lord brought Moses to the entire people of Israel, but he also charged him especially to be a mentor to Joshua. And I want to read these two scriptures right here. One is in the book of Deuteronomy, again in the Old Testament, one of my favorite places in all of scripture. I love digging into the Old Testament. Listen to Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 38. It says, "Joshua the son of Nun, who stands before you, he shall enter there," talking about the promised land. And then God gives Moses a command. He says, encourage him. Encourage him. Encourage Joshua. And then if you flip over to Deuteronomy chapter 3, verse 28, he repeats the charge and it says, "But charge Joshua and encourage him and strengthen him, for he shall go across at the head of the people, and he shall give them as an inheritance to the land which you shall see." And I love this because he is charging Moses to then turn around and give the charge to Joshua, passing the baton, so to speak. And isn't it a beautiful thing to see that even though Moses wasn't to go into the promised land, but his mentee, the one that he would be passing the torch to, would go far beyond, and he would be able to go into the promised land and see those things. And so you think about this today of not only thinking who has been your Moses, but turn the tables just a little bit and ask yourself, who is my Joshua? Who am I pouring into? Who has the Lord maybe brought into my life that I am supposed to encourage and strengthen and edify and cheer on and pour into and invest into? And so that's a very exciting thought, I think, for us as we study scripture and we try to apply that to our lives, to think about that, to be grateful, so incredibly grateful for those who have played that mentor role in our life, but then also to think about who can we pour into as well.